Did you know that cortisol, also known as the stress hormone, gets released when you're experiencing anxiety or stress or just the fight or flight sense of survival? It gets the adrenaline pumping through your vein, your heart starts beating faster, and, overwhelming amounts of doses of this can be bad for you in the long term. But what a lot of people fail to comment on about cortisol is that it also gets released when you experience excitement or joy. Your adrenaline also starts rushing and pumping. And the tricky thing is that a lot of people, they normally don't recognize this. So individuals can actually get addicted to stress. They may put themselves into stressful situations, whether it's just their immediate environment or their work or their relationships, or they may, get stressed about the meal choices because it actually does produce cortisol because the anxiety becomes addictive. So these subconscious habits oftentimes will drive people in this endless cycle of self-destruction. And it's kind of tricky because most people don't realize this. So what it ends up boiling down to is this lack of impulse control, because if you're not aware of it, then how are you going to try and build habits around making it better? So then eventually, for a lot of people, they may run into what would be considered a midlife crisis because they've lived all their life, maybe trying to suppress their cortisol or trying to find coping mechanisms, whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever else people get addicted to. So they've been suppressing it, but then oftentimes there comes a catalyst and somebody gets excited and then they have cortisol running through their body nonstop, but then they get overwhelmed and they go out into the world and they're not getting enough sleep, and ultimately it causes them to spiral down and crash. And then sometimes individuals end up on medication. But a lot of this is a byproduct of them experiencing what would be a good thing, which is excitement and cortisol being released. It's just they don't have the mechanisms to regulate it. So if you as an individual have, an addiction to negative activities or negative emotions, or maybe just sustaining a negative environment, or maybe a cluttered environment, whatever it may be, then perhaps you've just either suppressed certain emotions, so you're not even aware of it. Most people, that's the crazy thing, they're not aware that this cortisol is constantly being released or constantly being fed by this, like these micro anxieties or micro stresses. But I think if we as individuals, we start to recognize where this has come from, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The only unfortunate part is that individuals do not know how to control it. Then, maybe individuals will be able to evolve and become better. So, meditating can help, having self-awareness, reading books on the matter, or just self-help things so that you can gain control over the thoughts that come into your head, because a lot of people believe with absolute certainty that every single thought that goes into their head represents an absolute truth, which simply is not true. So speaking in E-Prime can be helpful with that. So that's my rambled on a lot. I said the same thing over and over and over again because I feel like some points need to be hammered into over and over and over again. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, toodles.